Okay, so let's take a look at example number 2 here, where we're going to use factoring. So here's a example scenario here. So in volcanoes, the 1980 eruption of our state, Washington State's Mount St. Helens, had an initial lateral blast. So lateral means like sideways, with a velocity of 440 feet per second. So the ash was shooting out across 440 feet every second. Very, very quick. The expression 440t minus 16t squared models the height of a rock erupted from the volcano after t seconds. So if we're not just talking about, how fast is it going sideways, we're talking about a rock. It's, you have a volcano and a rock blasts out of it and kind of follows an arc like any, falling motion does. The equation 440t minus 16t models the height of that rock. If you know how much time has passed, let's say 10 seconds passes, you'll be able to plug that 10 in and calculate how high that rock is at that point in time. Models the height of a rock erupted from the volcano after t seconds. We want to factor this expression. Okay, so let's factor this down. So we want to think about what are the factors of 440t. Well, let's just start with that 440 part. And the way that I like to factor things is to typically just divide by whole numbers, starting with the smallest ones. So I'm going to divide this into 2 times 220. Looks like I can divide that by 2 again. 2 times 110. Divide that by 2 again, and we will get 55. And divide that by, doesn't look like I could divide that by 2. I don't think I would divide that by 3 or 4, but if I divided it by 5, I would have 5 and 11. Once you hit these numbers that are all prime numbers that you can't factor down anymore. So for example, 2 can only be divided by 1. The only whole number you can divide it by is 1. Same thing with 5, same thing with 11. You can't divide any of these numbers by any number other than 1 and get a whole number. So it is fully factored. So therefore we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 11. Well, they've already got the 5 and 11 part there. So I guess we are just filling in the 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, and well, what's left? Well, just that t at the end. We had 440 times t, the 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 11. That gets us to our 440. So we've just got that t left over. Okay, now let's try negative 16t squared. Well, what have they already done for us? They've done 2 times 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So we need to do another 2 to get to 16. But we don't want positive 16, right? We want negative 16. So we must also be multiplying by negative 1. What's remaining, these last two boxes? Well, that would be our t squared. Now we can factor t squared. If you imagine, like in video 1, t squared as a literal square with side lengths t times t, those are our factors. Okay, so let's identify our greatest common factor. Well, what do we share here? It looks like we are sharing a few things. We are sharing 1, 2, 3 2s. 1, 2, 3 2s. There's another 2 right here, but we're not sharing that one. We are also sharing a t, right? There's another t on the bottom, but there's only 1 on the top. So our greatest common factor, 2 times 2 times 2, would be 8t, right? Our greatest common factor is 8t. We see that down below, right here, where they've got that 8t for us. So what are we multiplying 8t by? Well, we're multiplying it by all the stuff that was left over. So right here on the top one, we had 5 times 11. So we are multiplying 8t times 55 on top. And on the bottom, we were multiplying it by what was left over here, which would be negative 1 times 2 would be negative 2 times t would be negative 2t. All in all, we're going to finish that up by writing it as 8t. I'll write it over here. 8t. Let's do that in red so it tracks with what we did before. A-t was multiplied by two things. It was multiplied by 55 in the first term, and it was multiplied by negative 2t in the second term. So there we go. That is our factored form of this expression. We started with 440t minus 16t squared. We broke down each of the terms into all of their factors. We found the common factors, and then we wrote this in its factored form.